Well, good evening, everybody. I'm Mayor Smith, and this is the January 4th, 2022 meeting of the Board of Commissioners. We welcome you all here. We're having some connectivity problems. One of our commissioners was exposed to COVID, and we're trying to get him in if we can, but doesn't seem to be working too well tonight. Thank you all for wearing masks. I think this is going to be a temporary situation, but we really appreciate you cooperating. If you will join me in the Pledge of Allegiance and then the invocation following. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic which stands one nation under God, indivisible, liberty. Well, Almighty God, here we are. We're kind of tired of all this. We're getting ready for, we hope, one last push. And thank you for sending those tonight who are willing to make one more attempt at wearing masks so that we can get through this. Be with us as we do the town's business tonight. Thank you for this new year. Thank you for the board that we have assembled and for the managers. And thank you, Lord, for those who are here in the audience and online. Amen. We'll continue to see if we can get connectivity here. Okay. Oh, wait a minute. The members of the board, Junior called me about 2 hours ago and said that 3 people at his workplace had COVID, and he was exposed. He was in Greensboro at the time. In my discretion, I told him to turn around and go back. Our ordinance requires that you give 24 hours notice if you're going to come in remotely, but it seems to me this is an exceptional situation since there was no way he could have known. So I will call this meeting to order and also ask if there is a motion as to whether or not to allow Junior to participate. Come here.
Go ahead.
I make a motion that we allow Junior to participate remotely.
Okay, the motion has been made. All in favor, please raise your right hand. It's unanimous of those here. So thank you, and we'll see if we can get him in.
He's in.
Is that him?
Yeah. He's in.
Hey, Mr. Price. Okay.
Hey, Bob.
All right, and the camera is facing this way.
It's facing this way right now. We're gonna
Turn it the other way. Yeah. Okay. The agenda is before you tonight, commissioners. Are there any changes, or would you entertain a motion to approve it as written?
I make a motion that we approve the agenda as written.
Okay. Is there any discussion of this?
Bob, I would like to make a motion that we go ahead and appoint somebody for the planning board, since we have people that have already applied for it, and go ahead and just get it out of the way.
Would you accept that as part of your motion, Alan?
We already interviewed this person.
Well, why don't you propose an amendment then?
Yes, I
Do you want me to tell you who the person is? Would that help?
yes, it would.
Okay. Mr. Pattison. We've already interviewed him. We need somebody on the board, or y'all can reject it and say, let's get more applicants.
Well, we had other applicants for that position as well that we did not appoint.
Okay, so the motion is on the floor. Unless you want to make an amendment to the motion and allow that to be voted on, then the original motion would stand, but up to you.
I'd like to make the motion that we go ahead and approve one of the people that have already applied.
Well, the motion, I think, would be that we consider an appointment to the board.
Right.
In addition,
To
as
the
part of
agenda.
the agenda.
Yes.
Yeah. Okay, the amendment is proposed that we consider, that we open the question of appointing another person to the planning board tonight. Is there any discussion on the amendment? If not, all in favor of the amendment, please raise your hand.
He needs to verbally.
Okay. Mr. Price, you'll need to say verbally what your vote is.
I'm for it.
Okay. For it. Okay. The motion is amended. Any further discussion on the emotion? If not, all in favor of the motion, please raise your hand. The main motion, as amended. Okay, Junior, how do you vote on that?
I'm for it.
Okay, against? Okay, it's 3-1. All right. The agenda is amended and otherwise is approved to as amended. All right. I would like to say that Jerry Vincent has been sick since Sunday, and he thought it the better part of valor not to be here tonight. We'll try to soldier through without him. Public comment. I have two listed on public comment. Will Pope, I assume you want to talk about one of the annexations, so why don't you wait until that comes up? And Mike Hill, former commissioner, welcome back. What would you like to address?
Let's see if I can get this mask off without tearing my hearing aids up. Mr. Mayor, I won't want to speak tonight, but when I get here, I realize that a situation is ongoing, and that's one of our commissioners continues to not be here where the public can see him face to face. Now, I know it's y'all's choice to allow him to do it per computer or visual. But I do know that since June, he has missed 5 meetings. That's being here physically. That's 5 regular meetings. Then he zoomed in on 1 Board of Adjustment, and he was absent on 3 Board of Adjustments. Now, I think the public has a right to be able to see his face when he's in here. I'm looking at the computer. I've heard him better tonight than I did when I was sitting up on the board. And I would like to ask also, Mr. Price, when I left, had not completed his ethics training. I would like to know if all members of this board has completed their ethics training to this date.
There's a new class of ethics that the new commissioners will be taking soon, since he's reelected.
Has Mr. Price taken his ethics? It's been 1 year.
Not on the original appointment, but he will do so with the other group, as I understand it. Is that correct, Madam Clerk?
I haven't tried it. They know that.
Yes, he would. Okay. I understand your comments, Mr. Hill. The situation tonight, just to add, was an unusual situation. And I'm only speaking as to that situation because there was not enough time to follow the ordinance, and the board made an exception. But
Well, I
appreciate your comments.
People of this town should have the right to have all 4 members up here when they are required to be here. I know we approved this virtual, but I think it's being used in the wrong way. And we the people have a right to see the faces of the people that is making decisions. Thank you.
Okay. Well, that's what the public comment is to be, as long as we are, as we do it in a worthwhile way. Okay. All right, the consent agenda. Is there a motion as to the consent agenda?
I make a motion that we approve the consent agenda.
If there's no discussion, all in favor, raise your right hand. And Junior Price, how do you vote?
Approve it.
Okay. It's unanimous, Madam Clerk. All right. We have several land matters tonight. The first is a voluntary annexation by Easley Properties, LLC, which is 57.38 acres at NC 55 West and Old Boys Creek Road. I would indicate that that's across the street from me, but I have no negative indications at this point about that. So I don't see any reason why, if necessary, could not vote. Sean. I'm going to go ahead and initiate the hearing and let you present the information for the town.
Thank you, Mayor. Good evening, Board. Our first public hearing on tonight's agenda is for a voluntary annexation petition for the 57-acre tract that the Mayor mentioned a minute ago, currently owned by Easley Properties, LLC. We do have a small vicinity map on the screen to give everyone present some reference. This is directly south of town on Highway 55, nestled between Highway 55 and Old Boys Creek Road. You will notice that the second public hearing on tonight's public hearing list is for the conditional rezoning of this tract. Just want to point out that the annexation, approval or denial, has no indication. We will proceed with that rezoning hearing regardless because the property is already in our planning jurisdiction. Just wanted to point that out. Okay. Any questions for staff about the annexation?
Which is a little different from normal situation.
Yes, sir.
Any questions from the board?
No.
Yes. Mr. Price?
No.
Oh, no. Okay. All right. Got you. Okay. Who is presenting on behalf of the petitioner? You'll state your name and address, please.
Yes, sir. My name is Sarah Shirley, and my address is 8008 Corporate Center Drive in Charlotte, North Carolina.
Okay.
I am actually with American Engineering, and we are representing Meritage Homes in the application tonight. I actually have a very brief presentation, but for the rezoning case, so I can
Right.
hold, or I can do that now.
You can hold that for the rezoning,
Absolutely.
but if you want to say anything about the annexation, you're certainly welcome to do so.
We are looking forward to joining the town of Anger, and we're here for any questions if you
Okay.
have any.
Any questions from the board about annexation? All right. Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you.
Any further comments? The hearing is closed. Any further discussion from the board? If not, is there a motion as to the voluntary annexation of 57.38 acres on NC 55 West and Old Boys Creek Road?
I make a motion that we accept, go with the annexation for this property.
Okay. The motion has been made. We no longer require seconds. Is there any? I'll give you another chance for discussion at this point. If not, all in favor of the voluntary annexation of the 57.38 acres, please raise your hand. Mr. Price, or those voting no, raise your hand.
I'm for it, Bob.
You're what?
I am for it.
Okay. The vote is 2-2. In that case, the mayor breaks the tie, and I will vote for it to break the tie. All right. Rezoning request on the same property.
Staff report, please. Okay, each board member should have the rezoning staff report handed to you as before the meeting started this evening. I'm going to hit some highlights here. We've talked about where in vicinity to the town limits the property is. With the annexation's approval, it is a contiguous portion of town limits. Like I mentioned, it is located between Highway 55 and Old Boys Creek Road, just south of the Cambridge and Windsor subdivisions.
And Brookmere.
And Brookmere. Okay, on the left side of the screen here, you're going to see a snippet from our Town of Andrews zoning map. The dark yellow color is our RA 30 zoning district, what we call our low density and agricultural residential zoning district here. The table on the right side of your screen here is a comparison between its current zoning of RA 30 and the proposed zoning in question, which is CZR6 or conditional high density residential zoning. You can see in the differences in these two tables here, these two columns on the table, the main difference between the existing zoning and the proposed zoning is your minimum lot size. If approved, the rezoning request would allow for 6,000 square foot minimum lot sizes versus currently a 30,000 square foot minimum lot size. In terms of the permitted uses, there's only one P in the box on the right column. That is because the applicant has declared a use in this conditional rezoning that the only use allowed will be single-family lots. That will be a condition of this approval. Some physical characteristics. The property is currently vacant agricultural land. Surrounding land uses include, like I mentioned, the Windsor, Cambridge, and Brookmere subdivisions, as well as some agricultural active uses on the land surrounding. There's also a church directly across the street on Highway 55 here. Services available. If developed, this property will be, or the developer will be required to extend Town of Andrews water and Town of Andrews sewer to serve the proposed subdivision. And access will be provided by both NC 55 and, in this case, Innish Road instead of Old Boys Creek Road. As with all rezoning or zoning changes, we have to look at our comprehensive land use map, which is the snippet on the left side of your screen here. This dark yellow color with the red arrow pointing to it, that is our medium density residential zoning, or excuse me, land use classification. This darker purple, we'll call it magenta, on the bottom of the screen here, that is our residential mixed use classification, because this blue line here represents the future Highway 55 bypass. So you can see the parcel in question is just down Innis Road from the future 4-lane highway. The requested zoning does align with what our comprehensive land use plan calls for. Medium density residential typically refers to 3 to 6 units per acre. The proposed 162 lots on the 57 acres is within that range. Okay, there's a separate handout I gave you before the meeting started with a proposed subdivision layout, and also on the third page there's an actual rendering provided by the applicant. And of course the applicant will have their chance to present and go through some details with you. I just want to hit the highlights. Like I mentioned, 162 total exclusively single-family lots proposed with this conditional rezoning. Entrances will be provided both on Highway 55 to the east and on Innis Road to the west, giving the subdivision 2 access points. A couple other things to point out. Over 20 acres of open space will be preserved on this 57-acre tract. There will be both north and southbound turn lanes installed on NC 55 to serve the entrance. Hopefully you can see the screen. Okay. The street layout here is shown on the screen. Like I mentioned, Innis Road exit, NC 55 exit, with cul-de-sacs and looping streets within. There's an existing pond on site that appears it will remain with the development of the subdivision. There is also 20-foot landscaping buffers provided along the road frontages on 55 Old Boys Creek and Ennis Road, behind the lots here in that lighter green area. The property will be developed in accordance with the R6 zoning district standards. There is a separate handout with a list of proposed conditions developed through coordination with the applicant and staff, as well as the planning board at their at last month's meeting. That list of conditions is a separate Word document here, right there. Here we go, right there. Got it. Okay. Many of those conditions listed are typical of the R6 zoning district. The minimum lot size, for example, is 6,000 square feet. The minimum lot width is 50 feet, typical R6 lots. You'll see the open space is noted there. The turn lane improvements are noted there. The buffers are noted there, et cetera. With conditional
Would you
rezoning,
go into a little more detail so that Commissioner Price can understand it?
Okay, let's see. Junior, can you hear me okay?
Jim, can you hear him okay?
Yeah, I can hear him fine.
Good. Okay. I'm going to run through these list of conditions here to make sure everyone's understands the conditions that will carry with the land if the rezoning is approved. Number 1 says the parcel in question shall only to be developed with single-family residential lots. There shall be no more than 162 total lots on the property in question. In the case of a reduction in the total lot count based on unforeseen design constraints, the planning director may approve minor adjustments to proposed subdivision plan. All that is to say, they can decrease the number of lots if something on-site unforeseen happens along the way. Number 3.
Or increase the size of lots.
Sure, or increase. The minimum lot size shall be at least 6,000 square feet. The minimum lot width shall be 50 feet or larger. The minimum building setbacks shall be as required in the R6 district, which is 5 feet on the sides, 20 feet on the front. Number 6, proposed northbound left turn lane and southbound right turn lane improvements on 55 shall be installed per DOT standards prior to the recordation of lots shown on the subdivision plan. There shall be a northbound right turn lane installed on Ennis Road to serve the proposed access to the subdivision on the west side. Number 8, there shall be a minimum of 20.5 acres of open space preserved in the proposed subdivision, and this open space shall be developed in accordance with Chapter 6 of the zoning ordinance. Number 9, the proposed 20-foot street buffers along 55 Old Boys Creek Road and Ennis Road shall be installed per the Type A buffer standards in Section 7.3 of the zoning ordinance. There shall be curb and gutter and 5-foot sidewalk installed throughout the proposed subdivision on both sides of each proposed streets. And number 11, that curb and gutter shall also be extended along the road frontages of the 55 Old Boys Creek and Ennis Road, which will stub to the adjacent properties to be continued in the future. I do want to mention one comment the applicant brought to my attention before the meeting as in regards to the proposed turn lanes on accessing from 55 and Ennis Road. I'll let the applicant speak more to it. I just want to make the board aware there has been ongoing discussions with DOT to make sure there's room to fit those additional turn lanes in the right-of-way. That is the applicant's intention. Obviously, they want to make sure that the adjacent property owners can't in any way put an obstacle from that happening. So they're working through that with DOT now. And again, I want to point to, I'm going to let the applicant speak more to their conversations with DOT. Just want to make everybody aware. Does everybody understand that these conditions will be binding, just like the zoning district, and will carry with the land indefinitely, just like a standard rezoning? Okay. Any questions about the conditions list?
I don't. It's not part of the conditions here. I mean, just and I'm reading. You did a complete buffer on 55 from one end of it back to the other. Is that what I'm seeing and heard you say?
I think the rendering does a pretty good job of showing it.
Okay. Let me go to that one.
It's I think it's page 3 of this guy. I know there's a lot. It's this one.
Yes, much easier to see. Thank you, Sean. Sorry.
Yeah.
Great.
Any other questions about what's being proposed?
No.
Not from you, I guess, at this moment.
Okay. Anything else from the board before we continue the public hearing? If not, now will the petitioner come forward and give us the background? And you've stated your name and address previously, I believe.
Yes, sir. Again, my name is Sarah Shirley. I'm with American Engineering, address 8008 Corporate Center Drive, Charlotte, North Carolina. I do have a very quick presentation ready to go. I'm so sorry. Give me a minute.
I'm sorry, I'm getting too hot.
Okay.
We just wanted to give you guys a little bit of background about how we came to come to the design for the project. So we're really looking forward. I'm here with the developers tonight, the development team tonight, as well as our traffic consultant to answer any specific questions about the project. So very quickly, wanted to let you know what steps we've taken to this date in order to get a plan that we feel is reasonable and can be developed as shown for the plan. So we've spoken with planning department, engineering department, fire, worked with NCDOT, continue to work with NCDOT, as well as reached out to the school district to help find current enrollment rates. So we're applying all of the zoning ordinance requirements to the town. We've abided by the future land use plan and goals for the town. We're working to meet stormwater requirements, buffering all of our environmental features on site. We've done a wetlands report. We've done preliminary grading and water and sewer availability studies, extensions, preliminary design, and shared that with engineering. And we're applying all of the public road cross sections, and the intent is for all of the internal roads to be publicly dedicated. Our conceptual plan, a little bit of background on how we put this together. First things we do start with are perimeter buffers. It's important to us to maintain a sense of privacy for not just the citizens moving into the neighborhood, but also existing homes that may surround the site. So that would be a vegetated buffer. We will have, it'll be walkable as well. We'll have sidewalks along both 55 and Ennis Road and Old Bowie's Creek. It's important for us to be able to provide amenity areas for all of our residents as well. So we've got a couple different amenity areas scattered around the existing pond. It's such a lovely feature. It's an environmental feature, so we're protecting it, but it's also a wonderful decorative feature as well. We're looking to provide walking trails throughout the neighborhood, internal to the neighborhood, that will also connect to the public sidewalk on both sides, on all sides. We will also have sidewalk at least on one side of all of our internal roads as well. So all with sidewalks and trails, we will provide almost 2 miles of a walking loop throughout our neighborhood. Again, we're looking to buffer our and protect our existing pond and wetlands on site, as well as providing proposed stormwater management areas. And this will help with any drainage that is currently on site, helping to keep and maintain that route that it follows now, as well as detain and treat any additional runoff that might be created as part of our project. These are just a few examples of the homes that we are hoping to propose on the site, not specific elevations, but just to give you an idea of what type of homes we're hoping to gear towards the site. We're proud to say that all of our homes meet the Energy Star certified requirements and follow a slew and a long list of very stringent environmental requirements for that energy certification. As you know, this is just the first step in a long process. Rezoning is just an ask for the use. After rezoning, we will go through a very diligent and stringent construction plan design and civil design process. So we'll go again through, we'll have a a full site plan with grading sheets, water and sewer plans, stormwater plans, erosion and sediment control to help during construction management. All of that will go through review with all of our regulating agencies, the town, the state, for stormwater and for grading and plans. I do want to address the commitment. We would like to add a term to the commitment for the turn lanes. It is our intention to provide the turn lanes as requested by the town and the planning board. Our concern is that NCDOT will grant us the ability to provide those turn lanes. There is a question that's outstanding that NCDOT hasn't given us the assurance of that within their maintenance right of way, we as private developers could install turn lanes. So it's our intention to do it. We'd like to be able to add a term to the condition that says if right of way is required to be obtained from private landowners, that we have the ability to say, that it can be reasonably obtained without someone holding us hostage and us having to come back before the board to revise the commitment. So again, it's our intention to do it, but we'd like to make sure that we can and don't want to commit to something that we won't be able to fulfill if it comes back that there's any question about the right of way. So I can answer any specific questions, and then I can also bring people up who can help answer questions in a more intelligent way. Thank you very much.
Any questions from the board?
I lost you just for a moment
Sure.
when you were saying, should you have to acquire right-of-ways from other property owners? That's where you lost me.
So NCDOT has two different types of right-of-way. They have maintenance right-of-way, and then they have dedicated right-of-way. If it's maintenance, the property owner generally owns to the center line of the road, and they only have an agreement with NCDOT that they can do maintenance within that right-of-way. So they can clean it, they can repave it, whatever fits within their maintenance rules. But you generally are not allowed to, NCDOT doesn't own it, so they don't technically have the power to do anything other than maintenance within that right-of-way. Right-of-way gets dedicated when you do things like this, where you have a subdivision that dedicates a certain amount of right-of-way from the center line into the property. So we would dedicate right-of-way as part of our project.
Okay.
Along our road frontage where we own it. But the same wouldn't necessarily be true across the street. So we were hoping NCDOT would give us a clean answer of, yes, you can do this, this is fine. As long as you meet these criteria, you could improve within the right-of-way. But they haven't, so that's where this whole question has come up.
Okay, I think you did a good job. So what I'm understanding, even if you don't get it, you're going to do it on your portion. Is that what I'm understanding regardless? If it means you giving up some land to do it?
We would dedicate.
Yes.
Regardless.
Your portion.
Yes.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Which would be the southbound lane
It would
on
be,
55.
Yes, sir. I have my north arrow. It would be basically internal to our property. So yeah, I guess
That is
western.
the right lane would
along-
be the southbound lane
Mhm.
from Anger.
Okay.
Right. And then the same for Ennis Road and Old Bowie's Creek.
Right. Okay. Any other questions from the board?
No.
Okay. Anybody else?
If I under-
Well, go ahead. I'm sorry.
So if I understand this right, you're just going to have two entrances into the development.
Turn your mic on, please.
And has anybody done a traffic analysis that's going down Old Blues Creek Road? Oh. There. Traffic
Question is, has anybody done a traffic analysis?
Going down Old Buies Creek Road?
Yes, sir. And actually, we have our traffic consultant here to help answer any technical questions. But a full traffic impact analysis was performed and approved by NCDOT and the town as part of this project.
Okay, is this your traffic analysis analyst?
Yes, sir. I can bring her up. Yes.
Would you like to hear from her?
Yes.
Okay. You'll give us your name and address and capacity in which you're testifying, please.
Taking the earrings out. Hi, good evening. I'm Krista Green. I'm with Stantec Consulting at 801 Jones Franklin Road in Raleigh, North Carolina. And we did do a full traffic impact analysis based on NCDOT guidance and had a scoping meeting and had the town and NCDOT involved. And so we did look at Buies Creek Road, and we looked at it because of the bypass coming in. They had us study the future conditions. So, matter of fact, every intersection in all the study areas was level of service C or better, with just a few B and C. Almost everything was level of service A or B, and that's every single movement in every intersection too.
Right.
So there was plenty of capacity to handle the traffic for this site.
Okay. The only reason why I'm asking, because I live in one of the subdivisions right there, and trying to get out in the morning is ridiculous, trying to get onto 55. And with people adding to that area right there, because we get a lot of school traffic going in that way, it causes a problem for a lot of the homeowners in there trying to get out of the subdivision. There's a lot of accidents there.
And I guess the great news is there's relief on the way, that the 55 bypass that they're doing right-of-way right now, construction's supposed to start in 2023, and that's going to reduce all the traffic on 55 by 40 to 50%.
Well, we
too,
hope.
so. Any other questions?
No.
If not,
that's
I'll
all
be
right.
here if y'all need any more answers. Thank you.
Anything else? Okay, I'm going to close the public hearing. And Dan, we want to remind people about what we can take into account on a rezoning request. Pour your mic in, please.
You can only take into account at this point, really with rezoning, is just how it's zoned, what potential uses could be made, not what specific uses are intended to be made by this particular applicant.
This is conditional, so they have to
Oh,
clear.
this-
Oh, this
okay,
is-
so this is
that's
conditional,
right,
so
this is
yeah.
conditional,
So it's-
okay.
Yeah,
Thank you, John.
yeah, thanks.
Okay. I'm happy to do that. Are there any persons in the audience who would like to speak to this? Okay. Come forward to the microphone, please.
My name is Will Pope, and I'm an attorney here in Andrew, and I own the property that sits right here. And I saw a lot of plans on dealing with storm runoff this way, but I don't know if you guys ever paid attention. There's a tree right here. And from here down, it funnels to the culvert right here. I don't know if you've ever noticed that. I have, because I've had hurricanes. And I've had water come up from me to you from the corner of my office building. And we're talking about putting all these houses, 6,000 square foot house, with a driveway, and all this impervious surface, all this water that's going to go. We've had blowouts on Philippa Springs Road that blew out that road for 6 months. And we're going to put 6,000 square foot lots draining into that one spot. I think that's dangerous. I think it's not a lot of planning for that part. I don't see. We're talking about putting three cars per 6,000 foot lot. That's 162 times 3. And if they're traveling 3 times a day, think of the traffic that's going to be coming in into that point right here. where you've got Windsor coming in, you got the other two subdivisions coming in. I sit there, I see what happens. I've seen the wrecks. I've seen the cars come by my office at 55 miles an hour when they hit the cliff. I promise you, other people around here have seen the same thing. When you make that turn, you just about get run over. That's going to happen. And you can say we're going to have the bypass. I've been told there was going to be a bypass since I've been in this town. The first one's going to be at Tippett Road, and we've still not seen that one yet either. They've delayed the purchasing of the right-of-way. Who knows how long that bypass is going to take. But we're going to enjoy or have to deal with this amount of development. I'm not against it. I'm not against the development of the property. I just think the density is too high. And I don't think they've addressed the drainage on this end. And I think that's a big concern that us as the citizens are going to have to deal with. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. You left your stuff up there. Any further comments? Any further discussion from the board?
Can I ask Sean another question?
Certainly.
At this point. So, Sean, in light of was this possible drainage issue addressed at all when you guys were looking at the possibility of this and the what would occur? I can say that I'm unfortunately not that familiar with this property, not being on an area of town that I go to quite that often. But were there any concerns about what Mr. Pope might have mentioned in possible issues already down below and anything that would be taking the part of it away? I mean, I understand now we're adding in storm gutters and drain things to take that water, but where did you talk about where it was going as far as were there any concerns about this before that brought up this topic?
Not specifically. Again, I'd like for the applicant to get a chance to answer these questions specifically. There are a couple reserved areas for stormwater management on the site. The applicant will look at the topography of the site and make sure it's going to drain to these ponds. Obviously, with curb and gutter along each roadway, you're going to collect the runoff. Instead of an open ditch, it's going to go into one of the inlets in that curb and gutter and carry to one of these ponds on site. Now, I just want to point out as a general rule for all new development, an applicant developer is not going to spend the money on engineering the drainage in the stormwater for a project before they have their zoning or annexation approval. They have to make sure the layout and the lot count will work before they invest many tens of thousands of dollars into a full set of engineering drawings. That's when the staff comes in, right? We're going to require, per our ordinance and per state standards, all of the runoff that falls on this site stays on this site, right? It cannot, by law, adversely impact your neighbors more so than it does today as undeveloped. That's how the rules read, basically.
Okay, thank you.
So we have a town engineer that acts on behalf of the town. It's going to go back and forth with their engineer once we get that far, if we get that far, and make sure the ponds proposed will handle all of the runoff caused by the impervious surface on site. That's one of the things we look at during what we call our construction drawing review, which is several months long process of back and forth between staff and engineers to make sure that's handled. Just like the rest of the physical construction, just like the water and the sewer capacities, full hydraulic analyses are done, lift station for the sewer analyses are done. That's where the engineers get involved. They need to know if it's even worth their while to go down that road at this stage. That's what the rezoning hearing's for. Mm-hmm. Now, if you see any issue with density, lot count, street layout, open space, buffers, we can put a condition on this plan you see on the screen any way you see fit, as long as it's consented to in writing by the developer. If you think a lot is too close to a neighboring property, or it needs more open space, or it needs less total lots, whatever it is, we can put that in writing and agree on it. And staff will enforce it just the way the board signs it. Okay. This particular rezoning hearing is not like our standard rezoning hearings where we have to just say whatever the ordinance allows, that's what you can do. You can go back and forth as long as it takes to hash out these conditions and make sure you're on the same page with the applicant, make sure you've addressed all the neighbors' concerns, et cetera.
Okay. Any further questions or comments?
And if I hear you correctly, DOT would be responsible for Old Blues Creek Road if we have to make any changes to that? To make a turn lane instead of being wide off, to have it then make a right hand.
Okay. Near the intersection that Mr. Pope brought up a minute ago of Old Blues Creek and 55, right in front of the Windsor subdivision entrance. We know there's safety concerns there. Anyone who's driven down that street, it's an awkward intersection. Absolutely. The developer owns no right-of-way adjacent to that particular issue. It is entirely owned and maintained by NCDOT. We can certainly reach out and see if there's any potential fixes before this gets built, but it's entirely their right-of-way. It's not town-owned or operated, and it's not developer-owned or operated.
I live across the street. The only problem I've seen is people coming around the curve. The people coming in from Ennis Road seem to be able to get out to the road fairly easily, in my experience.
I would say that it is a very dangerous intersection. I do not come up 55 and turn left into my heart. That's digging these hills. I turn back on Ennis Road and come back around just because of the dangers of that intersection. And you're going to have that with that number of traffic there. More cars you're going to put on the road.
Sean, also with that, and I mean, I know it has nothing to do with the rezoning, but it's part of my thought
Well, this is
process
conditional rezoning.
that I want to ask you about this. So if indeed, doesn't it only drops to 35 like the minute you approach that curve, correct? Like at the church?
At the church, yes.
And anybody that makes changes to that, it's DOT that would have to back that limit up and get it away from that curve, knowing that it's getting more flow of traffic. That would be
I believe that's near where the town limits started before this annexation.
Uh-huh.
Right there at the intersection. The town could certainly request DOT push that sign back to our new corporate limits. They would certainly consider that request. They did it for us on Tippett Road.
okay.
Yeah.
Well, that would be something that would be. I mean, I hear the problems that I'm trying to work with all the things too, and I understand the concern there that that until there is a bypass, and that would be a consideration to help do that.
I certainly understand the skepticism of waiting on a bypass. Those of you,
Oh,
who
sure, we all
here a
are.
long time,
I know.
and hearing that over and over and over. I just want to say, all indications from EOT is the project is fully funded. Right-of-way acquisitions agents are already in the field making offer, and they've actually closed on several large strips of property that will provide the right-of-way for this bypass. So this is no longer a theoretical planned project. This is moving full steam ahead. It was going to bid in October of this year for the DOT to start construction. The intersection is just near where Ennis Road ties back into 55, just south of the project here. So one would assume, and of course the TIA expert mentioned that a significant portion of this traffic is going to stop coming into town and go around town on the bypass if they want to go to Wake County, like a lot of commuters in Harnett County do every morning. Right. So I do think you will have a significant impact on the number of cars that will be driving past Mr. Pope's office and past that site access point on the screen here.
But what about the people coming out of town going?
And vice versa. Yeah.
Because I know I see a lot of Campbell students come flying down that road, So.
There used to be a speed limit sign right there at the office, but somebody took it up. But it's just wild. I think they're right up there just as fast as they can.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, is there any further discussion from the board? Is the board ready to, is there any motion from the board?
And just double checking, Sean. So if we were to be adding something about this to make sure that that drainage issue is addressed down at the other end, is that something that we just need to state for the fact that we acknowledge that it could exist and that we want to make sure that we're addressing that with this rezoning? I mean, is that something? This conditional is so different, and looking at what you can and cannot, let them do, or we're saying yes to, but knowing that that is a concern. I know we've before and said we want to see more buffer, we want to see more this, more that. Is that something that we can put in with this? That again, we want to be sure that that drainage issue down there will be addressed, or that it has been given it all its evaluation and that it can.
Is there a comment from the developer on that?
Yeah, I'll just say that typically that stuff's not added to the zoning conditions.
Okay.
Only those items that would exceed what the ordinance already requires.
Okay.
We should
All
add
right.
to the conditions.
All right.
The applicant have anything to add about how you might deal with the drainage on that side of the property?
And Sean is absolutely right. After this, we would go into an in-depth design
Mm-hmm.
process as part of this. This is very conceptual. We did use GIS topo in order to conceptually cite all the elements. So yes, as per state law, it's already covered as part of the construction design. We have to make sure that we treat everything that's on this property as it is right now, and to make sure that we're not increasing or adversely affecting any adjacent properties. So that does get covered as part of the construction plan process. And we do take that very seriously because our licenses are tied to making sure we get that right.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Any further questions? Is there any motion with regard to this rezoning request?
I make a motion that we grant this rezoning request. I fear for, I'm always the person you've heard me speak before up here. Will we ever be able to buy a lot bigger than 6,000 feet ever again without going into the country and buying land? But I know that that's the route that we're going with it. You either choose to live in the smaller neighborhood but I'm always questioning, how do I get a bigger lot to put a house on, a little bit bigger?
Now
But
that-
I understand why this works.
Now, that would be conditional, so we can actually change it, can't we?
Well, we would not be granting an R6 conditional.
Well, we could change the lot, property size, I think, ain't that correct? We can, offer, change the amount of homes going in there to make a bigger lot.
So the condition sheet shows a minimum lot size of 6,000 square feet, contiguous with the R6 district. I have it on here specifically just in case it would need to be adjusted
Right.
for those exact reasons.
Mm-hmm.
50-foot wide lots are becoming more and more common. It's what every national builder asks me, can we do 50 footers? It's the first question they ask, right? R10 is 60 feet. You can always place a condition that you fall somewhere in between 6,000 and 10,000, between 50-foot widths and 60-foot widths. Totally up to the board's discretion, again, if consented to by the applicant.
Well, what is the as to these conditions? What would the petition of the applicant be as to the size of the lot?
Well, you tapped on to a good point. Basically, the market demands that they exist now demand smaller lots. Our customers are asking for smaller lots, less maintenance. There's an HOA that gets involved as part of this. So you get the benefit of you have smaller lots as part of a neighborhood, but you have better quality control over what those lots look like, what the open space looks like, and a level of architectural quality that you wouldn't get with a subdivision otherwise. So as part of this project, we actually have to do a number of significant sewer improvements, including installing a pump station. All of the right-of-way improvements that get put in as part of this, it starts driving up the cost. And what we're trying to do is develop a neighborhood that people can actually afford. The reason why you have people looking for smaller lots these days is because the prices just keep going up and up and up. And as a not so young professional these days, I am in that rat race trying to find a house that I can actually afford on my income. And I'm looking for a nice neighborhood that has HOA controls, that has a good sense of a neighborhood fabric to it, the walkability of the sidewalks, a closeness to my neighbors. I want to be able to know that if I cry out in the middle of the night, somebody's going to hear me, but I have my own space. So with all of that involved, that is why the lots are the size that they are. And we're meeting all the zoning requirements for it. And we want to be able to provide a wonderful neighborhood for people who want to have that opportunity to move in. Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Any further questions? The motion is before you that we approve the rezoning request. All in favor, please raise your hand.
Have the rezoning staff report handed to you as before the meeting started.
What now?
You're good, Sean. Whoa.
What was that comment?
We were getting a replay
Oh, okay.
at the same time.
Okay. So, once again, is there a motion with regard to this rezoning request? Well, the motion is before us.
Right.
Without further comment, all in favor of the motion, please raise your right hand. Junior, how do you vote? Junior?
No.
Okay.
No.
All right. Those opposed? Okay, the rezoning fails. What could happen at this point, Sean?
Okay, so the property has been annexed into town. Any development that occurs on the property will be required to extend water and sewer to the site. We know that. Just as a courtesy to the applicant, I'll always ask, is there anything they need to go back to the drawing board and fix before they can reapply? Obviously, the property will be developed just like every property with access to water and sewer annexed into town, adjacent to town like this. This is where we want our growth to go. This is directly contiguous to town, right? What do we need to tell the applicant when they go back to the drawing board and when they meet with me later? Is it a lot size you're looking for? Is it a lot count you want to cap on this particular site? Is it an access location or a roadway improvement? Something I can give the applicant when they go back to the drawing board.
Any comments from the board?
Okay.
Yep, same here.
Size. Are we feeling a shift? We want to go further towards R10?
Yes.
Standard lot sizes?
I would.
Okay.
Yeah.
Closer to 10,000 square foot products. That'd be a 60-foot wide lot and almost twice as big as an R6 lot. Okay. Any other concerns the developer needs to know about?
No.
Okay.
Okay.
I'll meet with them and go from there.
All right. Thank you for the presentation, and we'll move on then. New business, budget amendment number 7. Hans, is this basically just what we've done previously, just allowing donations to be included as part of the budget? Is that the bottom line?
I was almost wondering why I was coming up here.
Okay.
No, yeah, essentially it's just that it's straightforward. Thankfully, our library director, Katie Warren, she watches every penny when it comes to the restricted revenue of donations. So she catches up with me pretty quickly to say, hey, we have received this money. Let's get the budget amendment going. So of course she can spend either accordingly or restrict it.
So
into the next
we need a
fiscal
motion. Is there a motion to
That's it.
approve budget amendment number 7?
I make a motion that we approve budget
Any
amendment number
discussion?
7.
If not, all in favor, please raise your right hand. And how do you vote, Junior? 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 How do you vote, Junior?
I'm for it.
Okay, it's unanimous. All right, thank you all. Okay, next is an ordinance to demolish a dilapidated dwelling. Who's presenting on that? Sean, are you doing that?
We need to discuss.
So under new business tonight, on behalf of our code enforcement officer, Mr. Shannon Hodges, we are going to request an ordinance to demolish the dilapidated dwelling at 950 North Broad Street. Veronica, on my flash drive, there is a couple house photos. I handed each of the board members a photo of both what the home looked like when Mr. Hodges started this case back in June, as well as what the home looks like today. As you can see, it continues to be more and more dilapidated by the day. The home has been vacant for, I want to say, roughly 2 or 3 years, something like that. We have met with the property. I say we. Mr. Hodges has met with the property owners multiple occasions. Property owner does not have the means to fix or demolish or sell the property, or it tells us they have no intention of selling the property. I do have a request in writing from the property owner asking Mr. Hodges to proceed with the demolition upon the expiration of her deadline, which was, I believe, November 30th of last year. So she was given 90 days to demolish. She came to us and said, I just don't have the means to do it. Would you guys do it for us? We said we can, but keep in mind all of those costs the town incurs are going to be a lien against your property one day when you try to transfer the property. She said she understood. So the next step, if the ordinance is approved, Mr. Hodges will bid out the project for demolition and clearing. It'll be graded, seeded, the whole nine for one of our contractors, and we do have that covered in our current budget.
Okay.
Any questions?
Any questions?
No.
Mayor, I'd like to go ahead and make a motion that we go ahead and approve the demolition of the location 950 North Broad Street.
Okay, I appreciate that. Expediting matters. Is there any discussion of the motion? If not, all in favor of the motion to demolish the dwelling at 950 North Broad Street East, and Andrew, please raise your right hand. Junior, how do you vote? Mr. Price?
I'm for the demolition.
Okay, good. It's unanimous. All right. Moving on, we have a voluntary annexation petition. We need to direct the clerk to investigate the sufficiency of the petition. It's submitted by Jimmy Johnson and his wife, Connie Johnson, and Vicki Mendenhall. Sean, what can you tell us about this?
Handed the board an aerial photo of the property in question located on South Wilma Street. It's directly across from the Woodcroft subdivision, directly north of Campbell Street. In the corner there, owned by Mr. Johnson. It's I believe it's 16.4 acres, thereabouts. Property was previously partially annexed, as you can see on the left side of the screen where the arrow is. He's requesting to annex the remaining portion of the 16.4 acres. And of course, once we get to the public hearing, there will also be a following rezoning request for your review as well.
Okay. Any questions of Sean?
So the first step is just to direct the clerk to investigate sufficiency. She'll
So
report back at your February.
Is there a motion that we do that?
I make a motion to direct the clerk to investigate the sufficiency of that annexation petition submitted by the Johnsons and Mendenhall.
Any discussion?
Nope.
If not, all in favor, please raise your right hand. And if you're in favor, Junior, say aye.
Aye.
There you go. All right. So the clerk is directed to investigate the sufficiency of the petition. All right. New business, or old business, I'm sorry. We need, the clerk has, investigated the Young property and we need to set a date for a public hearing.
Mr. Mayor, I was contacted by that petitioner yesterday, and it's been asked to put on hold for 1 month. They are working on a conditional rezoning application and drawing up the plans now, and they want that to align with the annexation on the same public hearing night if they can. So this one we'll put on hold, and you'll see it again in February.
Do we need to table it, or
Yes, please.
is there a motion to table this until the next board meeting?
I make a motion that we table it to the next board meeting.
All in favor, raise your right hand. How you vote, Junior? Aye. Okay. All right, so be it. Resolution 3 of 2022, fixing a date for a public hearing submitted by Kennebec Baptist Church. Do you know when the hearing would be, or?
Yes, this is the step 2 in the annexation process for the Kennebec Baptist Church property on Kennebec Church Road, right near the town's water tank up there. The church is requesting annexation. They will be tying into Andrew Water on Kennebec Church Road, and they have plans to tie into Andrew Sewer in the future when the property to the west is developed. The developer will provide a sewer stub to the back of the church property.
So they do have to connect to sewer if they're within 1,000 feet, as I recall.
Yes,
And
when
so
they expand, when they have plans to expand the church, they'll be required to tie in. Yes, sir.
Okay.
Clerk has investigated sufficiency. Next step is to set the date of the public hearing at the February 1st meeting.
Okay, so is there a motion to fix the date for public hearing on the Kennebec Baptist Church application for 25.39 acres for February the 1st meeting?
I make the motion that we approve that.
If there's no discussion, all in favor, raise your right hand. And Junior says aye. Okay. You're getting there, Junior. You're doing a good job. All right. Okay. The manager's report is in writing. Any staff reports that we need to consider that we have not already considered? All right. Anything else from the board? Going once. Is there a motion to adjourn?
I thought we had
We
the
added an amendment to the agenda.
Oh, I'm sorry. We did have the
added amendment.
amendment. Yeah. Okay. So I apologize. We can consider whether an additional appointment to the planning board. Madam Clerk, who are the persons who are eligible to be appointed at this point that we've already received? Sorry to throw you a curve.
That's okay.
You're fired, Bob.
Promises. I think if we're going to consider it, we at least need to know who's eligible.
Mm-hmm.
Let's see, it may be in this packet.
For the planning board, the ones that were eligible was Myron Patterson, who is an in-town applicant, Addison Allgood, in-town applicant, and also Ethan Alexander Davey as an in-town applicant.
Okay, and why? Remind us why we're having an opening.
We actually have one in-town position available and one ETJ position available for planning.
We don't have anybody for the ETJ at this point.
We do not have an application for an ETJ member.
All right, so Patterson, Allgood, and Davey. Have we heard from them previously?
Yes.
Is there a motion to fill the remaining position on the planning board?
I make a motion that we appoint Patterson to the planning board.
Okay, any discussion on this?
Well, I have to comment only because
That's what we pay
we
you the big
know
bucks
that I
for.
made another nomination at that last meeting, and it was turned down unanimously. And I would have to again think that Addison Allgood has more than shown, and I hate that it had to be a political issue and other issues. I know that, but he has shown his interest in wanting to serve the town, and I'm saying right now, I'll be voting no, and I think I know I'm outnumbered on it already, so I feel badly that we can't, look at his possibilities there. How long has Myron been in town here? I forget. And also, as I pointed out, and Addison is also a business owner in town, so I think I've made my point clear, and we should just go ahead and do the vote.
Okay, any further discussion? If not, all those in favor of the motion to appoint Myron Patterson to the remaining in-town position on the planning board, please raise your right hand. And let's see, Junior, how do you vote?
I'll vote for Patterson.
Okay, so that's 3, and against? Okay, so it's 3-1, Madam Clerk. Mr. Patterson is appointed. All right. Well, sorry, I about missed that. I guess we didn't set it up as to when we were going to do that, but thank you for reminding me. Anything further?
Nope.
Jerry?
Mr.
Yes.
Mr. Mayor.
Yes.
Yes, I'd like to address the board, please.
Okay.
As you, and this is a little personal, but as you well know, when you received a phone call from me today, I was 45 minutes from Andrew, and I received a phone call from my office to where we had 3 individuals that had tested positive for COVID. And I was around those 3 individuals for more than 30 minutes, less than 6 feet away yesterday in a meeting. That's the reason that after me and you spoke, I chose not to come to Andrew tonight to jeopardize my board members and anybody that would want to get close to me tonight. Mr. Hill made the motion or made the comment that whatever, but that's the reason I'm not there tonight. And I wanted to make that very clear to the public for all those people he's talking about that wants to see me sitting up there.
Okay. All right. Anything further? Hope you don't get sick, Junior.
Yeah.
And thank you all for being here. Thank you for the consideration of all matters by the board. I'll receive a motion to adjourn.
I make a motion that we adjourn.
All in favor, say aye.
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 Okay, so let it.
Arg.
Arg.